Well, how about that inflation? Everybody enjoying that inflation? Isn't it fun when things just like all of a sudden cost double what they used to? That's a lot of fun. Didn't see that coming, did you? Yeah, that one kind of snuck up on us. Even though we did see it coming, even though we've seen that period, that thing happen over time and time again, it still kind of sneaks up on us. Even when we think it's sneaking up on us, and we're like, oh yeah, that's happening. We're still not really ready for it. I mean, like right now, I have a Crunch candy bar, a king size Crunch candy bar, $2. $2. Like, what? What's going on? I'm feeling that crunch. And that's the thing with finances. Sometimes we feel that crunch. I think everybody's felt that crunch before. Like, have you felt the crunch before? Yeah, say boo. If you felt the crunch before, boo. Oh yeah, we feel the crunch. The crunch is always there. There's that feeling of crunch. And here's the thing about me. When I'm feeling the crunch, that's when the pressure starts to mount. You get under that pressure. And when the pressure starts to mount, that's crunch time. That's crunch time, you know? And some people like really rise to the occasion. They really do well in crunch time. Not me, no. I fold, and I fold hard and fast. I make terrible decisions. I panic. I freak out. I start to do things that I know aren't going to work, but I don't know what else to do. And so when crunch time happens, that's what I do. Maybe you're different, but that's me. I'm just being really honest about it. But I do know someone who is clutch in crunch time. I mean, somebody who is so clutch in crunch time. His name is Jesus. Oh, let me tell you about this guy, okay? When this guy feels the pressure, that's when he really rises to the occasion. He doesn't panic. He doesn't freak out. He doesn't make bad decisions. I mean, one time, this guy died on a cross, took all the sin of humanity inside of him, put it to death in his body, breathed his last, cried out to the Father, my God, why have you forsaken me? They took him down. They buried him in a tomb. And 3 days later, when everybody thought it was all over, crunch time, this guy was clutch. He came back again. I mean, this is my guy right here. This is the guy I'm telling you right now. When I start feeling the crunch, I'm like, Jesus. Because it's not me. I know I'm going to mess it up, but not Jesus. And here's the thing, I want you to have that kind of confidence in Jesus. I want all of us to have that kind of confidence in Jesus. I want his church to have that kind of confidence in Jesus, not just with our eternal souls and our salvation. And you can have that kind of confidence in him with your souls and your salvation and your identity and who you are. You can trust him with that, but also in like everyday matters. Man, when the crunch time hits, you can trust him. And that includes finances and money. And I know that can be tough. But I just want you to think, I mean, like this kind of idea applies to every aspect of our lives. Is there an aspect of our life or your life right now where you're feeling the crunch, the pressure? Who are you turning to in that moment? Are you turning back to your wisdom? Are you trying to make your own decisions? Are you trying to go your own way? Or are you going to trust Jesus, the one who really is clutch? Who are you going to trust in that? So when you're feeling that relationship crunch time, that health crunch time, that financial crunch time, who are you going to trust? Because this life is full of pressures and struggles. And so we're right now in this message series called The Sweet Life. And I want to remind you that this really can be a sweet life. Our God created you to be loved by him, to receive his love, and to share his love. You're not an accident. You're an on purpose. He is the creator of life, the originator of it, the author of it, and the perfecter of it. And so he has given us his very precious and wonderful commands, not to ruin life, but to give us a sweet life in him. An abundant, full life, a life with passion and purpose and freedom and joy that we can experience in him. This is a sweet life that he has for us, but it comes out of trusting him. He offers it. It's available to us. But if we don't trust him and step into it by taking steps of faith and walking with him, then we go our own way and do our own thing. And man, that's when the pressure gets even worse. And so there is a sweet life for you. Our memory verse for this series is found in Psalm 34, verse 8. And I'd love for you to read it out loud as we read it together. It says, "Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him." That's a woohoo verse right there. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. I love that about God, that God is like, hey, check me out. Our God is unchanging yet ever revealing. He's always making himself known. He's relational to the core. He longs to be in a relationship with you. You're what he wants, and he doesn't want just a part of you. Our God's jealous for you. I think that's so cool. Like we think of jealousy as a negative because in our own human emotions and the way we express that, sometimes it is really destructive, our jealousy, but God's jealousy is perfect. He's jealous for you. He doesn't want to share you. He wants all of you. He wants you completely. So as we examine our lives, is there a part of our lives that we're not trusting him in? Is there something in us where we're going our own way, doing our own thing? And God's like, hey, taste and see, check me out. Like, see if Jesus isn't clutch. So give him a shot. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. When we turn to him and we look to him and we believe him, not just believe in him, but actually like believe him. Like, yeah, like you're right. If you're right and I'm thinking differently, that means I'm wrong. I know some people can't ever say those words. I'm wrong. Try to see if your mouth can form those words right now. Let's try it. I'm wrong. Try it. I'm wrong. I'm wrong about some stuff. But not Jesus. He's clutch. He's right. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. Now, in this world, all right, we're going to feel the crunch. We're going to feel it from time to time. We're going to experience it, and that's okay. That crunch time is just an opportunity to trust Jesus. That crunch time is an opportunity to grow in him. That crunch time is an opportunity to see, taste and see that the Lord is good, to take our refuge in him. That's what that crunch time is. And then it increases our faith and our trust in him, not in ourselves. That's what's so great about some of these struggles that we go through. I'm not wishing them on me or you or anybody else, but they happen, and they're an opportunity for us to realize who we really can trust and do trust. And God shows up in those moments. So here's what it's like to feel the crunch. We feel the crunch when there is a big need and little resources. We feel the crunch when there's a big need and little resources. But I want you to understand, Jesus isn't surprised by this. Like this inflation thing that we were kind of joking about that kind of snuck up on us and surprises us. He's not surprised by things like that. He sees it, he knows it, he anticipates it, he understands it, and he has a plan to meet it. He always has a plan to meet it. There's nothing we throw at him or that we experience that shoots his wheels off or catches him off guard. He's ready. And he's offering us that opportunity to taste and see that he is good and to take our refuge in Jesus. There's a story in the Gospel of John, New Testament book of John, where Jesus is with his disciples in John chapter 6. And the climate of the world they were living in, it was just crazy. The political climate was nuts. There was this rabbi named John the Baptist, Jesus' cousin. He's the one that baptized Jesus. And he was the one that was the voice calling in the wilderness, preparing the way and pointing to Jesus and saying, behold, the Lamb of God who takes away the sin of the world, and saying, that's the Messiah. That's the guy. Well, John the Baptist had been arrested and he'd been put in prison. And ultimately, John's head got chopped off by this crazy king. And so all the people who had been like going out to the wilderness to be baptized by John and to hear him preach, Jesus and all his disciples and everybody else, they knew John, and John was like their rabbi, their guy. And they've just gotten word that John has been beheaded in prison. And this is a crunch time moment, especially for the disciples. They're looking at each other like, what is happening in the world we live in right now? I mean, Jesus said about John, like, of those born of women, there's no one greater than John. So like this whole thought process that we have, if we do the right thing and we're in the center of God's will, then nothing bad will happen to us. I mean, John's story is a little different than that. And yet that's the way people think. That's kind of how the disciples were thinking. They're like, hey, we're going to follow this Jesus guy and things are going to go really well for us. And then Jesus is saying this about John, and now John's got his head chopped off. Everybody's a bit stirred up. It's crunch time. And so Jesus says, hey, let's go away to pray. Let's go off by ourselves to pray. The problem with this is that everybody in that region was stirred up. People are upset, they're fed up, they're tired of it, that this king just beheaded their rabbi guy, and they're like, well, let's go out and let's find Jesus, because Jesus had been healing people, healing the sick. And they're like, let's go find that guy because that guy's going to deliver us from this crazy king, dude. We're going to go find that guy. We're going to go make that guy. Later in the book of John, in John chapter 6, much further down in that chapter, it says that this crowd that finds Jesus, that goes to find Jesus, that they intended to make him king by force. Now, does that mean they were going to force Jesus to be their king? Jesus, you have to be our king. No, the only way to make someone a king by force is you go and overthrow the existing king. So I want you to understand the dynamics here, that here's Jesus off on a mountainside with his friends after his cousin and one of their heroes has been beheaded for no reason. And now there is an army of men coming to find Jesus to say, hey, let's go to war. It's crunch time. We're sick of this. We don't know what to do now. That's what's happening here. And when we feel the crunch, when there's a big need and little resources. So let's unpack the story here in John chapter 6, verse 1. It says, sometime after this, Jesus crossed to the far shore of the Sea of Galilee, that is the Sea of Tiberias, and a great crowd of people followed him because they saw the signs he performed by healing the sick. Then Jesus went up on a mountainside and sat down with his disciples. The Jewish Passover festival was near. When Jesus looked up and saw a great crowd coming toward him, he said to Philip, where shall we buy bread for these people to eat? He asked this only to test him, for he already had in mind what he was going to do. Now, there's some cool things that are happening here. Like these guys went off by themselves. Like here they are. And now there's this great crowd coming, and Jesus looks up and sees the crowd. There's a big need. A big need, because they're looking for him to be their king, to be their source, their protection, their provision. They're coming to take refuge in Jesus, and there's a big need. So Jesus looks at one of his disciples, and he's like, hey, Philip, what do you think we ought to do here? Which I love that about Jesus is always inviting us in, right? That's when we're in that crunch time moment and we're feeling that pressure and we got a big need and we got little resources, Jesus will look at you and go, hey, what do you think we ought to do here? Now, he already had in mind what he was going to do, but Jesus isn't surprised by that. There is a legitimate problem here, a big issue. Is like, where are we going to buy enough bread for these people to eat, this army that is showing up here? Where are we going to provide for them? And so there's a big need, little resources. Now, when that happens and we're in crunch time, we can panic or we can participate in God's plan. We can panic or we can participate in Jesus' plan. We get to make this choice. When we're in crunch time, we can panic or we can participate in Jesus' plan. Now, my panic always makes things worse. And look, yours does too. I started to say, maybe yours doesn't. I know yours does. You know it. We keep panicking all over the world and stirring each other up and freaking each other out. And we're terrified and afraid. And we just keep making bad decisions upon bad decisions and spiraling out of control, and things keep getting worse. So we're in crunch time, big need, little resources. We can panic or we can choose to participate in Jesus' plan. So Jesus has asked Philip, like, what do you think we ought to do? So the next verse, verse 7, Philip answered him, it would take more than half a year's wages to buy enough bread for each one to have a bite. Another of his disciples, Andrew, Simon Peter's brother, spoke up. Here's a boy with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. But how far will they go among so many? Jesus said, have the people sit down. There was plenty of grass in the place, and they sat down. About 5,000 men were there. Jesus then took the loaves, gave thanks, and distributed it to those who were seated as much as they wanted. And he did the same with the fish. Okay, something special is happening here. There's a big need and little resources. Philip's panicking here. There's a bit of a panic here. Jesus says, hey, Philip, what do you think we ought to do here? And Philip's like, it would take a year's wages for everybody to have one bite. And he didn't even say, like, we don't have the money to give everybody a bite. He was like, it would take that much. That's a lot. Like, this is a big need and we have little resources. Andrew's like, okay, here's what we've got. Here's what we've got. We've got a boy who has 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. But Jesus has a plan. He takes that, has them sit in groups, and he distributed it. They had it distributed, and everybody had as much as they wanted. What is going on here? This is the plan. We can trust the plan. Now, Jesus has a plan. But to us, his plan's not going to make a lot of sense. It's out of control. So are we going to trust the plan here? So we can trust the plan. The first step is to avoid the dramatic. This is the freak out moment. Philip, like, Jesus, Philip's basically like, Jesus, you're out of control right now. Okay, you're asking me about things that don't make any sense. Jesus, this is unreasonable. It would take a year's worth of wages for everybody to have one bite. Jesus, you're out of control. Like, you're out of line in this situation. Now, we can look at Philip and be like, how dare he? But come on, like, you've never told Jesus he was out of line? You ever been in crunch time and there's a pressure and Jesus is like, hey, what do we want to do here? You're out of line, Jesus. I got a big need here, little resources. And we panic and we get really dramatic. How dare you put me in this situation? When a lot of times it was the not trusting in Jesus' plan to begin with that put us in the very situation we wind up in. But how dare you? I'm mad at you now, God. Avoid the dramatic. I mean, by the way, God can handle it. So like, you don't have to, he's got it. He can handle our anger and our fear and our panic. So Philip's in that situation. He's dramatic a little bit here. He's like, I would take a year's worth of wages. And this is problem. Yeah, it's a real problem. Life's difficult. They're full of them. Yeah, there's all kinds of crunch time moments that we face. But with Jesus, nothing is hopeless. Woohoo. That's a woohoo. So trust the plan. Avoid the dramatic. Stop thinking small. Stop thinking small. It's really tempting. We think small, big problem, little resources. We think small. Even Andrew is like, okay, he's thinking small. Here's a boy, small, with 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. We look at our resources and we think it's not enough. It will never go anywhere. But we think small, but God's like, hey, don't think small. You don't have to think that way. How will they go? How far will they go among so many? We look at the problem and we think the resource can never meet the need, but it's not my resource. Okay, this is where it gets really good. You see, it's not my resource. If I belong to him, then it's his resource. And not just a little bit of it, but all of it. Every bit of it is his resource. And it's not me alone, it's me and Jesus. And my guy's clutch. He is clutch in crunch time. He can handle this. So instead of thinking, all I have is this, 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 it's like, okay, here you go.
Yes.
Here you go. So avoid the dramatic, stop thinking small, and then just give what you have. Give what you have. Trust him. Trust him with your whole life. Every part of your life, including finances, because we're digging into that a little bit here about the plan. Give him what you have and then watch what he does.
That's right.
It's pretty amazing. Give him what you have and then watch what he does. Jesus is with us in this. That's why he asked them, where should we buy bread? Where? We. He's like, I'm with you. He's with us in crunch time. And when we trust him, we become more aware of his presence and we believe him and we follow him. And so Jesus has a plan. Trust the plan. Now, part of that plan when it comes to finances is giving. And God's plan for finances, he gives us this wonderful gift called the tithe. And it is an incredible gift of God. Not a burden to hurt you, but a gift to bless you and to set you free and to give you great joy and great confidence. And it's not one of those magic things that you do and then you never have the crunch time again. That's silly. You trust him in this and you know that Jesus is in it and you start with the tithe. By the way, tithe means 10%. So if you have income, you take the first 10%. It's called first fruits right off the top. You begin there, not with the leftovers, but right off the top. Because let's face it, when you're not trusting Jesus, there's never leftovers, which is a bummer. We always run out, but when you start trusting Jesus, next thing you know, there's going to be leftovers. We'll get to that. It's really good. You trust him with it. His plan starts with this beautiful thing called the tithe, and that may seem so foreign and so outlandish. And what are you talking like? Right? Okay, don't panic. Don't be dramatic. Avoid the dramatic. Avoid that. Stop thinking small. You could say, well, it won't make a difference. It won't matter. Oh, it will. He'll use it. He'll change your heart. He'll transform you. It's his plan. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. Taste and see. He's like, try me out. That's why I'm like, hey, go for it. Try it. At least try it once. Yes. We keep saying, I don't like it. Have you tried it? No, I don't like it. It smells weird. You know what? Sometimes our taste buds change too. Ever notice that? There's things I didn't like, when I was a kid that I love now because I grew up. And there's things that, you didn't like before that you try now because you're changing. You've been walking with Jesus for a little bit. Like you're a follower of Jesus. Okay, taste and see that the Lord is good. Get another taste, get another bite. Try something else that he's telling you to do that you haven't tried before. Give what you have. Trust him with this. This is the plan. You can go anytime you want to church.one to give and set up your online giving. If you know when you're getting paid again and what that'll be, just take 10% of that, set it up. And if you freak out later, you can go change it. And then set it up again. But taste and see, the Lord is good. Trust in his plan. And then we can enjoy being in the flow of God's generosity. And it's such a joy. It's so much fun to be in the flow of God's generosity. So everybody sits down. He distributes it to them all anybody wanted. They got as much as they wanted. And then look what happens. Verse 12 it says, when they had all had enough to eat, everybody had enough to eat. He said to his disciples, gather the pieces that are left over. Let nothing be wasted. So they gathered them and filled 12 baskets with the pieces of the 5 barley loaves left over by those who had eaten them. I love this story right here. This hey, where are we going to get bread for these people? And Philip's like, they would take a year's wages for one bite. And Andrew's like, I got a small boy and 5 small barley loaves and 2 small fish. And Jesus is like, okay, give it to me. Have them sit down. Everybody eats. Now he's like, oh, hey, guys, could you go collect the leftovers? Yes. There's 12 disciples. How many basketful of leftovers got brought back? 12. This is so exciting. Here comes Philip. He's like, I got a basket. Andrew, basket. Peter, basket. We all got baskets. Everybody got a basket. Full of leftovers. This is just how he works. His provision, it moves like this. When it's crunch time, who are you going to trust? My guy's Clutch. Trust him. Taste and see that the Lord is good. Blessed is the one who takes refuge in him. I'm excited to share with all of One Church across all of our outposts really exciting news. We are purchasing a building for our Concord outpost. Can we get a woo for that? So excited about that. I have a video that shares a little bit about that, and then we'll share in a time of communion together after we watch this together.
Hey church, I'm super excited to share an amazing opportunity God has given to One Church. We are purchasing the building at 79 Sheep Davis Road in Pembroke, New Hampshire, and it will become the new home for our Concord Outpost before the end of this year. God provided this building at just the right time. We are nearing the end of our lease agreement with Concord Christian Academy and have been praying about where to go next. Now, our weekly worship attendance in Concord has grown to over 200 in a temporary facility, which is amazing, but it's time to make a move. It's also important to note that God has provided a complete staff team in Concord that is ready to hit the ground running in a full-time facility. This is the right time, and this is the right building. This building is located less than 3 miles from where the Concord Outpost currently meets. It is a turnkey facility, ready to be used almost immediately by One Church for worship. This building gives us room to quickly double our reach in the Concord area. The space for children's ministry is excellent and will allow us to share God's love with families in powerful ways. It is the right time, this is the right building, and this is the right cost. The purchase price for this building is $1.7 million, and we have roughly $100,000 in updates, including painting and signage to do for the building to be totally ready for worship. If we were to build this building from the ground up, it would take well over a year to complete and easily cost $2.5 million or more. This is the right time, the right building, the right cost, and we are the right church to take this next step of bold faith. We can do this. I'm confident God will provide everything we need to do everything He calls us to do. We are in a great position to take this next step of faith. Our finances are healthy and our people are generous. We should do this. We get to do this. We will do this. Our leadership prayed hard and clearly heard from the Lord, and now we're asking you to pray and hear from Him as well about how you will participate in the Concord campaign to raise the funds needed to purchase this building. Let's go, church. Others went before us and sacrificed greatly so we could worship in Manchester, Bedford, Concord, Brandon, Rutland, Franklin, and online. And we will continue to give generously and sacrificially as a church so more of our wants can respond to the love of Jesus. So what are our next steps? Here's what we're asking every one of you to do. Number one, give a one-time gift. Think big. This is a big opportunity and big-time generosity is needed. You can use our giving envelopes at any of our outposts or give a one-time gift online. Number two, make a one-year commitment. What will you add to your current giving plan over the next year? We will have commitment cards available throughout November at our outposts and online. You can use them to indicate your giving plan for the next 12 months and then set it up online. I'm beyond thankful for the people God called to help lead our Concord Outpost. I believe God has incredible plans for this building as it allows us to have more worship services and more places to reach the most people in the shortest time. Your generosity helps us make a way for many more of our ones to know Jesus. This is the right time for the right building at the right cost, and we are the right church. Let's go, church.
So excited about what God is doing at One Church and the opportunities before us. And so we'd love to invite all of you to participate. That really is our goal. We want everyone to participate in this and share in giving and in praying together. And so that ask is threefold. And we'd love for you to go to church.one and click on the Concord campaign. And there's a commitment card there. You just click on the commitment card. You can fill that out and make a one-time gift. And so think big. Like we're getting this thing started. And then we're asking for a one-year commitment. So what are you currently giving? Know your current giving, and then ask God what you want to give on top of that over the coming 12 months to help make a way for more of our ones to know Him. And then we're asking everyone to pray a big, bold prayer of faith that goes like this: God, show me what to give and give me courage to give it. And so I would love if we could just ask God together, God, show me what to give and give me courage to give it. Would you pray that out loud with me? God, show me what to give and give me courage to give it. I know that He will do that. I know He will. And it may be crunch time, but our God is clutch. Our God is clutch. So trust Him and His plan and what He says. Now, we know that we can. We know that He's trustworthy, which is the very reason why we remember Him in communion. And whether you have bread and juice with you or not, you can participate in communion by remembering what God has done for you and by saying yes to Jesus. Jesus took bread and He broke it and He offered it to His friends. And that includes you. No matter who you are or what you've done or what's been done to you, God is for you, not against you. And He's offering Himself to you. Jesus is for you. And you can say yes to Him right now. Would you say yes to Jesus? Yes. And He also took a cup and He made a proposal, an offer to not only be our Savior, but to be our Lord. But not just any Lord, the Lord of Lords and the King of Kings. And when you say yes to Jesus as Savior, you're also saying yes to Him as Lord. That it's no longer your life, that He's purchased you with His blood on the cross, His substitutionary death for you. He has done this. And now everything that you are belongs to Him. And if you're saying yes to Jesus, then let's drink to the King, to the King. Please join me in praying and then being still and listening to God and making our commitment before Him. God, we thank You for Your great love expressed to us and for Your beautiful invitation for us to participate with You. God, we do ask that You give each of us one person to share Your love with. And then God, also please show us what to give and give us courage to give it and to make this commitment to You. And we ask for that in Jesus' name.